So today we have Ulysses Youngblood with us. How you doing today, Ulysses?
I'm doing awesome, Rayvon. How are you, bro?
You know, man, a solid 8 out of 10.
Yo,
Great answer there,
yes.
man.
Yo, that's the highest I've heard from you.
I
It's
mean,
usually like
6 out
six or
of 10.
seven.
You know it, you know it. But
uh,
welcome. Thanks for taking the time to sit and chat with us today.
for sure.
As you know, today is Juneteenth and Father's Day, so I just wanted to chat with you about that a little bit,
Let's
considering
go.
you are a black business owner and a father.
Let's go.
I'd like to ask you a couple of questions. So first, what's it like to be a black business owner in an industry that is dominated by white owners?
It's a great
Do you
question.
feel like there are obstacles? And of course, there's obstacles,
Yeah.
but what specifically stands out for you?
Before anything, it's just having a sound business model. I think that's what I noticed about the regulated market is a lot of people were concerned about like the retail facade. A lot of people were spending a lot of money to get grow facilities going. So I felt like it was important to create a model that basically brought value to people. And I think we do that really well. In terms of being a black person in the space, it's part of the motivation because I spent a lot of time trying to get work in this space, essentially being like wanting to work in the space, and I didn't see a lot of myself. So for most of the time, even when it's going to visit grow facilities and you see hundreds of people and you don't see any colored people, you know, there's sometimes where I could walk a facility and it's just like a lot of guys, you know what I mean? So like just having that perspective of not having a lot of diversity and wanting to bring diversity to the industry and knowing that the culture of cannabis is more represented by diversity rather than, like you had mentioned, like dominance in one kind of person, if you will. So I think, yeah, it's basically wanting to think differently and have a different business model, but also create what's not there.
How do you think that we can continue to see more faces of color within the industry?
Less regulations. Less regulations that drives down the capital cost of starting a business. And when there's less capital requirements, then that means that more people can get involved. I think that's one answer. The other answer is being extremely intentional. You know, right now we're in the state's equity program that's not very equitable. You know, we're dealing with delivery regulations that make it very difficult for us to deliver cannabis to people's homes, and it doesn't have to be like that. The state, local government have to be very intentional about, uh, you know, wanting to see more equity in the industry.
While it's also Juneteenth, today is Father's Day, and I know that you're a father to two young boys. This is another vague question, but tell me a little bit about being a father.
It's fucking awesome. Yeah. It's awesome. I mean, yesterday we were playing football, and this is the first time I see my kid like on a field, just naturally putting on moves that I'd learned when I was freaking 13 or 14 years old. He's 6. So I think, you know, being a dad and an entrepreneur, they somewhat go hand in hand. Partly because me as a dad, especially in cannabis space, where my kids can't come here anymore, they used to be able to come here all the time. I'm basically having to explain things to them, like very much so truthfully in black and white, and like break it down so that a 6-year-old can understand. You know what I mean? And there's a level of searching like internally that you have to find in order to like explain something to a 6-year-old. So I think that's one of the coolest things that I learned while try to teach him like entrepreneurship and cannabis and things like that. So
Well, no, that bridges me into my next question. I watch your Instagram story, and I watch your boys cleaning a car, and you
yeah.
posted something about like having them learn from a young age. How important do you think it is to instill that work
My
ethic?
youngest kid, my 3-year-old, he actually like a couple months ago, he was like, Dad, he was like, I was leaving, and he was like, Dad, you going home? And he meant here, you know what I mean? So like for him to pick up like how much time I spent here, I have to basically tell him why, like why, you know what I mean? You know, I'm very fortunate that I live really close to here, so it's not like a 20, 30-minute drive where it's like, oh man, I'm back in the car, here we go again. I can come down here for whatever reason and explain to them like what's going on. it's really about cannabis. Because if they were here, they'd be able to learn, but they can't. So you have to tell them like it's just not a normal business at this point. So if it was I don't know, auto body shop, they'd be there, they'd be here. You know what I mean? At least spending more time. But you know, they can't spend time here. So I have to again be intentional about what I tell them.
You've kind of talked about it a little bit already, but bridging the gap between being a father and a businessman, because I mean, businessman, startup company, we all know the stories. It takes hours of dedication.
Yeah.
But also being a parent, another thing that takes hours of dedication. How do you find a balance between the two?
Kind of what I mentioned before, just be extremely honest about what's going on. Yeah, that's integrate. That's it, integrate.
Beautiful answer. Well, as a businessman who's integrating his business and his kids, how are you celebrating this weekend with Juneteenth and Father's Day? What's going on for you?
No plans at all.
Well, I hope you and the boys enjoyed the day out at home, just chilling, my friend.
I appreciate that, bro.
I appreciate your time today.
Let's
Thanks for
go.
coming by.
Yeah, of course.